everybody, and welcome back to another episode of the Mayor Tyler Moore Show here on the Kokomo Post. My name is Drew Larison. This is MTM. Mr. Mayor, how are you doing today?
I'm doing great. We've got day off, Mayor, today.
Yeah,
I'm not off. I've been answering emails and checking in on police, and obviously there was I hate to bring it up, a water line break just
something
up the
going
street
on.
that put a damper.
Yeah, we were supposed to get lunch at Cook's, and that didn't work out.
Never truly off duty, but obviously the city office is closed today, being whether you still Columbus Day or Indigenous People Day. I know that's the latest push as well, and I think President Biden issued the first ever Indigenous People proclamation.
Well,
today.
It turns out Christopher Columbus was kind of not a great person.
I've heard,
that he did some pretty horrible things.
Came in and was new to the place, and I guess they thought it was theirs off the bat. So
it's one of those things. They didn't teach you that in elementary school. You just Christopher. What is it? In 1842, he sailed the ocean blue. I mean, I've heard that name for a long time, but it is Columbus Day. It is Indigenous People Day. But I mean, did you have a good weekend?
Did have a good weekend. A busy weekend, not as busy as yours, but still nonetheless with family and friends. We celebrated my mother-in-law's 80th birthday Saturday night, so that was a big to-do. Big to-do for the family, but we kept it low-key there. And but because we hosted it, you got to get the place ready. So Saturday was jam-packed full of landscaping and cleanup, and new fire pit and everything because we were hosting. So so what did we do Friday night? Did we do anything Friday night? Can't remember anything Friday night. Saturday night, a lot of people don't know this. You might just know me as Drew Larison, but I'm also a minister. A licensed minister.
That is cool. So every now and then, someone that is getting married, they ask me to perform or officiate their wedding. And that happened on Saturday night. I officiated a wedding here in Kokomo, and that was fun. That was the third wedding that I had done.
Excellent.
No, it was a good time. I've got, a script, so to speak. So it went well. And then big Michigan win Saturday night for football as well.
Always good.
And if you've been following along, Jessica Green from Z925, we had like this, friendly little charity throwdown that we did for this game because it was Michigan versus Nebraska. I'm a Michigan fan and she's a Nebraska fan. So we had a nice little wager, and I'm happy to say Michigan came out on top. So Jessica now has to wear a piece of Michigan clothing, and she will be donating $100 to My Choice charity, which for that bet, it was Kokomo Urban Outreach. So you're welcome, Kokomo Urban Outreach. $100 coming your way. I
haven't seen her picture yet with
we were texting
Michigan
today.
Okay.
We were texting today. We're going to get it planned out this week, maybe do like a Facebook Live for it or something like that. So that was good to see. And then Sunday, we actually went down to Beef and Boards.
Good.
Which that's still a thing down in Indianapolis. And we saw a show called Phantom, which was kind of like a offshoot of the Phantom of Opera kind of story. Interesting to say the least,
but the food was good.
The food was solid. It's always solid there, and it was good. It's just they have a salad bar, which salad bars aren't very common anymore. There's not a lot of salad bars in the world since COVID. Days. Yeah, exactly. So it had a great salad bar. So we had a good weekend too. Good thing. Good to be back to work today. Next week I will be out. We're going on a little family vacation, so I think Pam might be hosting this next week.
Oh, fun!
That could be fun.
Firefighter Pam.
Firefighter Pam, which you probably don't know what we're talking about.
Nope.
So Aaron and Pam, they got to participate in a little firefighter training type of thing, which is going to be coming a video at the Kokomo Post sooner or later. But that was a fun thing to do. We were just in the office one day, and two firefighters walk in, and they're like, "Hey, we have something I think you might be interested in." And I didn't go, but I heard it was crazy.
It is crazy. I had the opportunity to do it 2 falls ago or 2 years ago, prior to becoming mayor, and the firefighter unions in this region hold this It's firefighter 101 type of course, and they bring individuals from their community, typically elected officials, city councilmen, those that deal with firefighter budgets and decisions and such, so they can actually get a hands-on experience of what they do. And but obviously they can invite and bring whoever they choose. Very cool that Pam and Aaron got to go. But yeah, talk about an amazing, eye-opening experience. Now, obviously, they run you through 4 different sessions or sections, obstacles, challenges, if you will. So it's kind of, doesn't always happen that a fire department is going to have a fire rescue, be in a burn chamber, have an accident where you're using jaws of life and and climbing ladders and jumping in EMTs, but that can happen. So that's kind of where it's a 4 to 5 hour morning in your face firefighter exposition, if you will, and just great experience. So yeah, glad the ladies got to do it.
Pam's the one that got suited up for that. Literally suited up, and I don't know. She said they went inside this metal box, similar like a shipping crate, and it was like a 2,000 degree fire inside of this. Yeah. And then she did the classic ladder climb that goes off the back of the truck. She did that. She had to go into a smoke filled building and literally hands and knees on the ground looking for a body.
To do a rescue.
Yeah, and then they had... So, it was super realistic the way they made it sound, but that was crazy, which is probably going to make a crazy Kokomo Post video. So that should be coming up soon. You guys, everybody watches that, the Kokomo Post Tries. So that will be a Kokomo Post Tries episode in the future. So let's talk about Halloween trick-or-treating hours were announced. They're going to be on Sunday, which is actually Halloween this year. That doesn't happen often. From 5 to 8 p.m., and it's the same hours for Greentown and Rushville, too.
So last year, obviously with COVID and not knowing what everybody's plans or the restrictions and such, I had reached out to Greentown and Rushville, and because so many people hop in different places or such, we decided to coordinate it last year. I reached out to both town presidents again this year, and we all agreed to coordinate the times as well, just so it was a collective Howard County trick-or-treating time. So yes, Halloween night, we figured a lot of the adults that typically run the kiddos around the neighborhoods have plans Saturday night. I know the park department has our haunted trail that night out at Jackson Morrow Park. So that's going on, and I think there's a few other things, but a lot of churches also do their trunk or treat and such. And so, opted with Sunday night, 5 to 8.
Love that. Yeah,
sugar the kids up before they go to school Monday.
Yeah, exactly. Their Monday will be a hard wake up for a lot of those kids after having sugar highs. Or, do you take a parent tax on Halloween night? I guess your kids is still trick or treat.
That's funny you ask. Probably for the last 10 years, I throw out the whole church thing in their face when they all come in. I'm like, hold on, 10% goes to the house.
Yep.
So, I said, feel free to pick out whichever part you want, but and it works for math too. I say, okay, so if you have 100 pieces of candy,
I get 10.
Dad gets 10.
Love that. And I remember last year, you're a Reese Cup guy, right?
I'm a Reese Cup guy, yes.
Yeah, I'm the same way. It's just it's the best candy. And I heard something last year that really stuck. So there's the seasonal Reese Cups, right? So there's the pumpkins, and then there's the trees, and then I hear those are the best ones because they're made fresh.
Oh, sure.
Because they only make those for certain times of the year. The other cups, they're just, God knows when they were made, right? So they say the seasonal ones are the best ones because they're made fresh, as well as I feel like there's more peanut butter to chocolate ratio, which that's why you want those.
Yep.
That's why they're so good. So tell me a little bit about too. I saw this in the news, a big city investment for Ivy Tech.
Yes.
Tell me a little bit about that.
So Ivy Tech is on the cusp of this new industrial revolution, if you will, and it's called Industry 4.0. Very much technology and robotic based, and as part of their $40 million renovation of the campus, they've got plans for this technical lab that will have the next wave of manufacturing as a training facility for that. They've been working really in an advisement role with Stellantis and one of their robotic suppliers, Kokomo, to outfit the lab. And so they approached both the city and the county to see if now that the campuses, the transformation is part of this next wave of investment and campaign that they have really statewide, if they would consider, if we would consider assisting them with that initiative. And because one of the training modules is actually have a sticker price of around $700,000, we chose to use some of our ARP funds, and everybody's been asking what we were in. So ARP, because I mean it really focuses on workforce development. I mean, we have an opportunity now to make Ivy Tech, one of the premier training facilities here in this part of the state, being right in the backyard, if you will, of Stellantis' engine plant, where a lot of this technology is going to be. When then now with their recent announcement of the $226 million investment in the additional plants.
That's my next bullet point.
South. Oh, sorry.
You talked about it before I got there.
Sorry.
But go ahead. It's fine.
We just felt it was a great investment to assist Ivy Tech in that, and obviously also looking at the industrial park that we now have a signed offer to purchase on, or hoping to close, or preparing to close on soon. That too will entice some suppliers in the automotive industry, or even renewable energy and such, that's going to be focused on a lot of the electrification of vehicles and such. To come to Howard County, to Kokomo, and start setting up shop in that industrial park.
Love that. The pieces are falling together, you could say. So let's talk more about that. The Stellantis huge investment into our plant. So talk a little bit about that too.
Yeah. So with the electrification kind of being the hot topic these days, Stellantis is now on board with the electric vehicles, obviously needing a different transmission. And so because Kokomo and Howard County has been the leaders for Chrysler, FCA, Stellantis, the whole transition from one to the other, they opted to continue that investment here. Speaks so highly of their faith, not only in the plants, but in the quality workforce that Kokomo and Howard County and the surrounding areas provides and has provided for decades. So forget the actual number, 226 million, I believe.
That sounds right.
In the transmission plants, and we're hoping that that'll continue. And we're now 2 for 2. There was a huge announcement of the $400 million engine plant investment, 226. So I'm hoping that in 2022 we get a third announcement.
Love that. I love big announcements. Yeah, it's so interesting, because a lot of what we're talking about with Ivy Tech and a lot of what we're talking about, like this industrial park, that conversation is talking about how do we diversify our workforce, how do we diversify industries in Kokomo, and then, of course, at the exact same time, one of the big industries of Kokomo that's been here forever just keeps getting strengthened all at the same time. So I guess they're both great things.
Yes.
Because if just that Chrysler announcement made would still be a great thing, but probably wouldn't solve that problem with the diversification of a workforce, but they're both happening at the same time. So that's it's a great thing. It's a great thing to see. Love that.
You bet.
Real quick, we did a blog last Halloween, and it was Kokomo-themed Halloween costumes. And when I say we, I wrote this one last year. And we had like a top 5 Kokomo-themed Halloween costumes, and I wanted to run through these because, it's Halloween season.
These are the ones from last year?
These are last year. Do you remember this from last year?
I remember this from last year.
Okay. So last year we had a Kokomo Jackrabbit player. That would be a great, now we could add into that a Kokomo Bobcats player.
Right. I'm sure
that'd be
there
a
will
great
be
Halloween costume. An Old Ben, of course. That'd be great. Who wouldn't like to, maybe get one of those like costumes where it's 4 or 5 people in one costume and you're all walking?
Yes, 2 sets of legs.
That'd be great. Coco Mantis, of course, would be a great one. And then road problems. Road construction, so maybe a little pothole or something like that. Yeah. And then Tyler Moore cheerleader costume. That'd be great. You're the Kokomo cheerleader now. You've kept that role going, so that's good to see. So, I mean, I wanted to ask you, that was last year. This year, what would be like your go-to if you wanted to represent Kokomo in one Halloween costume?
wow.
What would you pick? There's a lot of options.
Wow, I know. I mean, you touched on it. I mean, probably the Bobcat.
Bobcat's a good
that'd
addition.
Be a good one.
Yeah.
Because they're new now. Wow, that's a.
Road problems still exist. We're in the height of construction season right now. I've lived here my entire life. I'm getting to the point where I'm worried.
Something that we get a lot of calls on. I mean, I'd probably be
sidewalks.
I was going to be a section of sidewalk.
That's the number one question we get is about sidewalks. That'd be good. Yeah. No, I'd love to see if anybody's dressing up in a Kokomo themed costume this year. That'd be really funny to watch. Awesome. So let's get into the Ask the Mayor segment, which cool news about the Ask the Mayor segment. We actually now have a partner for this segment. It's Lexi's Drink Barn here in Kokomo. And maybe that's a great Kokomo Halloween costume, is a fountain Coke. Like dress up like a fountain Coke from Lexi's. And, everybody, that's one of those things. I think a lot of people that leave Kokomo.
Straw hat.
Yeah. You could totally do that. A lot of people leave Kokomo, and one of the biggest things they say, like a kid goes to college or something like that, one of the biggest things they say they miss is a good fountain Coke.
There you go.
What's your go-to fountain Coke order?
Vanilla Coke.
Just plain and simple? I'm about to say.
Just plain and simple. Vanilla Coke. Oh. Bless you.
Vanilla Coke. Got it.
Yes. And really, I mean, there's not one place that's really got one that's better than another.
There's a big debate there.
You can stop just about anywhere.
Yeah, I mean, a vanilla Coke's solid.
A good one, but
it is interesting. A lot of people say their go-to spot is this, their go-to spot is that. And I've recently learned, I always thought it was just, you're right, it's all the same. But all these Coke places and these drink places, they have like their recipe of, syrup compared to carbonation and things like that. And
they're hand done, or they're used the good ice and.
So the good ice is needed. But every now and then in our office, we're close to, honestly, we're kind of in the middle of both Lexi's locations here on North Washington as well as Markland. And if we're feeling sluggish or something like that on an afternoon, we'll go get a Lexi's drink run, and everybody will get I like a Coke Zero with vanilla. I'm a Coke Zero believer.
There you go.
And it doesn't have the weird diet taste or anything like that. So thank you to Lexi's Drink Barn for being the partner for the Ask the Mayor segment. Let's get into it. The first question is from Libby on Facebook. Rumor is the internet cell service is crappy because of Kokomo's towers. Will those be upgraded at any point in time?
Well, fortunately, as part of the, I know we talked about it a little bit, this regional initiative that the state has launched to encourage municipalities and counties to come together and look at regional initiatives. Part of the application that our region, again, that we are a part of it's Howard, Tipton, Cass, Miami, Clinton, and Fulton County, is a broadband study. And so, it's really to look at wireless, getting internet to those areas within the counties that are dead zones. So I would assume that part of that study and eventual work on internet and broadband will involve an analysis of some sort of the towers. I had not heard that it was, the towers are the reason for that.
Well, for the cell service, I guess our Kokomo, Kokomo Post follow-up to this is, when it comes to cell towers, is that the city's job? Is the city involved in the towers, or is that on Verizon, AT&T, or whoever is providing
the city,
that?
And I apologize, Libby. She did. Her question was.
Well, it
on
was
cell
both.
Service.
It was internet / cell service.
So cell service. So yes, the city and county have no control over the service providers. Now they lease spaces from either city or county owned towers that we use, or others that are privately owned, and so the positioning of those is on those companies. So
I think I just realized I have no idea how cell phones work. I think I've always just used them. Is it towers that provide us this? In my head, it was a satellite. I thought this was a space thing.
reach from tower to tower.
You're talking, and I'm like, wait, there are cell phone towers? I didn't know that, but interesting. Thanks, Libby, for the question. It sounds like cell service, and I'm guessing maybe internet service to your cell phone is maybe what you're talking about. That might be an AT&T problem or a Verizon problem. So
T-Mobile,
maybe check with that, or
Comcast,
T-Mobile, something like that. Yeah, Comcast, they're starting to have mobile phone options too. All right, this next question is from Lacey on Facebook, and it's a very long question, so we're going to try to do our best to sum it up. What can we do about certain businesses not following BOAH rules, which we looked this up? That is Board of Animal Health rules. There are 2 businesses in town who supply their stores via puppy mills and non-reputable exotic dealers. Their animals are spreading, this is one of my favorite new words, by the way, zoonotic diseases, dying at an unusual high rate and virtually suffering while waiting to be purchased, or worse, die. Many times the BOAH and USDA have been contacted, but the visits they make to said businesses are never unannounced. So what she means by that is they know a few weeks in like, hey, we're going to be coming in a few weeks. So then these businesses clean up their act, or at least clean up the store for when these visits happen. So I've seen some Facebook postings about one specific store in town. I'm not going to put anybody on blast in this, but I mean, I've seen there's been, Facebook events where they're like protesting outside of this store. Like a lot of these questions that we get in the Lexi's Drink Bar and Ask the Mayor segment is this the city's job? Like, what is the city's role? Because the Board of Health, Board of Animal Health, that's an Indiana Board of Health. I don't think there's a local chapter or unit for a Howard County Board of Animal Health. What is the city's job when it comes to things like this, or is this a state issue?
So when things are reported such as that, now we have a inspection and code enforcement division that inspects all kinds of structures, residential, business, commercial, and stuff. Typically, when they're being built, or when there are issues concerning potential ordinance violations, and so they can go out. Now, they would be able to cite something and maybe report it to the appropriate agency, but for the actual practices in pet stores, like you said, I believe that there is a state agency.
Yeah. I looked it up. It is Indiana Board of Animal Health.
Yeah, because I don't think...
Because honestly, I saw BOAH and didn't know what it stood for. I Googled it. That was the first thing.
Yeah, because I don't even think the Howard County Department of Health would have anything to do with that, unless there were conditions within the store that were unsanitary
for the customers.
Not only for for the customers and such. I mean,
because it's kind of like a restaurant has like a Board of Health person come, but this would be for animals specific. So I'm guessing maybe something similar to like what a humane society would maybe have to go through, or things like that.
Yep.
Okay, so that's more of a state issue.
So that could be their first cut is that the Humane Society, I mean, could potentially send out one of their officers to do the inspection and then report it to the.
Does the Humane Society have that authority?
They wouldn't have the authority to enforce, but they could go out and inspect
just on their own.
Right.
Okay, gotcha. That's
I believe.
Yeah, just do like you've heard of like a secret shopper. This is like a secret investigator for a store. Yeah, so I've seen those protests plan, and I mean, one of them I think she's talking about has been in Kokomo for a really long time, and the other one is a newer store. So that'll be interesting. But Lacey, that's a state issue, but that's actually good advice.
Still,
Talk to the local Humane Society.
Or even code enforcement to see,
I looked on Lacey's Facebook page. She is a registered vet tech. So this is something that's really passionate to her, obviously. But Lacey, I don't want to tell you something you've probably already done, but going to the Humane Society might be a good route.
Yeah, or even, and I don't know if the veterinarian for whom she works has any directive. She's had a conversation with him or her to see if, I mean, obviously they would be part of a statewide organization of veterinarians that probably deal with a lot of the disease, infection, whatever that come in as a result of those. Yeah. So
this is great. This is why, honestly, I love this Ask the Mayor segment. And this next question is proof of it, too. I mean, I think, obviously, you get to answer a lot of questions. You get to be really direct with some people asking you questions. But something I like about this segment, too, is we really learn. And honestly, the questions so far today are this too. We really get to learn what is the city's responsibility, what power does City Hall have? Do they hit, where is their job beginning and end, and where do other people connect? Yeah. Maybe it's like the state, or maybe it's even a national organization. And this next question is no less than that. The school pickup line at Elwood Haynes is atrocious. You cannot get down Vale Street or Cooper Street around 3 to 4 p.m. Eastern also has a pickup line at New Life Church, and it's a mess every single day getting there because of the pickup line at Elwood Haynes. There is so much unused space in their parking lot. There has to be a better way for traffic to flow. Katie on Facebook. Mr. Mayor, what do we do about school pickup lines?
That's funny that you say school pickup lines. When I was in school, I used pickup lines.
I knew that was that. Before you said it, I knew that's where you were going.
Just kidding. But no.
Now, really, I will say, I'm poking fun at this. It's not the city's job to organize school pickups. However, she does mention traffic flow, which is transportation, which is the responsibility.
Yes, Kokomo Police Department. Yeah. So if there are issues, because I'm sure as she's witnessed and others have too, I mean, there could be a lot of road rage. I mean, if you've got people waiting and they're not moving up.
I'm a part of that, by the way.
And really, I don't think Elwood Haynes is unique to that situation. We've had a few calls at some of the other schools where, I mean, with the line of traffic, again, and unfortunately, in recent weeks, because of the bus driver shortage that a lot of the schools are experiencing, the schools have asked parents to find alternate
I saw that. Yes.
ways to get their kids to and from school, and so the traffic is increased,
maybe greater than normal.
So I mean, not necessarily the city's responsibility to tell the school how they need to do it. We can express our concern, which we will definitely do because it does become an issue. But if it becomes
especially too when there's kids walking around, like it's a safety thing, and everybody. I will say, Katie, I am admitting I was poking fun at this a little bit because it's not the mayor's job to fix school pickup lines, but I just remembered how angry I get at school pickup lines as well, because here's what they do. So there is maybe a spot where 10, it's pushing it, 6 to 7 cars could probably fit right in front of the school at a time. In perfect world, 6 to 7 cars pull up, their children get out, they leave. Another 6 to 7 cars pull up, their children get out, they leave. Nope, here's how they do it. Here's how some of the parents at Wallace Elementary do it. Calling it out. They don't think their kids can walk more than 10 steps to the door. So instead of pulling all the way up so more cars can fit and speed up the process, they park right in front of where the door is. And it drives me nuts. I've never wanted to honk a horn more in my entire life. I mean, it's just common sense. Come on, let's go. We got stuff to do. We're dropping our kids off. Your kids are fully capable of walking 30 steps instead of 10 steps. It's possible.
They probably do it at recess.
Yeah. God. So
yes.
Katie, I'm with you.
So and Katie, again, it's not unique to Elwood Haynes.
No,
we'll see what we can do. And unfortunately, because we don't have more officers available that would be able to be at their different campus locations to assist and direct traffic. Same way with EMA, because then when EMA comes in, the schools would have to pay for that additional security or coverage. And so
I'm looking at you, Principal Snyder. Let's get this fixed. Concerned parent. Actually, I'm not concerned. I'm just impatient. The next question is Roger from Facebook. Markland Avenue, just west of the sheriff's office, gets flooded easily in a heavy rain. I imagine this is an important road for first responders as well as Giuliano's lunch traffic. Free plug to Giuliano's. Is there a plan to improve this stretch of road to alleviate this flooding? Are there any improvements related to the trail extension at that location or separate from that? All right, so we got 2 different questions. Is there a plan to improve this stretch of road to alleviate this flooding? We'll start there.
There is. I mean, if he's been a resident of Kokomo for his entire life, I think that stretch of Markland has always had it's just that low-lying area where the creek feeds in or works its way to the Wildcat. And with that being a low-lying area and the way the landscape is, everything just kind of runs into that ditch and across there.
Every now and then the jail has a waterfront property. It's just how it's always been.
So I know that they've looked at it. We've looked at it for years. I mean, prior to my administration as well, there have been some improvements down there. The water doesn't stick around as long as it used to. But I think because of the regulated ditch that runs through there as well, there would be a lot more involved that could alter the natural flow of water if we were to raise the grade of the road any higher to alleviate that. But I mean, I think there's been a culvert improvement in the last decade or so, but just with the amount of water that seems to work its way down into that little valley of sorts, it just can't keep up with it.
Yeah, flatlands are tough.
We're continuing to look at it, and hopefully.
The follow-up, are any improvements related to the trail extension of that location or separate from that? So are any trail improvements as well?
Yeah.
Does the trail get flooded sometimes too?
The trail has not, just because it's still, I mean, it all kind of converges down to that low-lying area where, because if he and others recall, that's where the train trestle used to be. So it used to be low-lying, and the train trestle would go over the top, and so it was low-lying, and that thing would flood and stay flooded. I mean, it would be almost 4 to 6 feet deep, at times. And so once
free community pool,
gone, absolutely,
there you go.
So, but yeah, I mean, there's we're going to continue trail improvements now with what is being planned or proposed. I think we're getting the soccer folks set up to where they can start using it on a regular basis. But any of the improvements there will not be any type of water control on that, because we can't dig down. That's a Superfund site, part of the Continental cleanup as well. But on the west side, with that being private property in through there, it would have to maybe find something out with the county if there was enough room, maybe to eventually put some type of retention pond to start collecting all that. So we'll continue to work.
All right, so this last question is actually a question from our staff.
Oh,
this is a TKP question. Editorial staff here. So some of our team spent time doing the fire ops training, which we talked about that, in Anderson, and learned about the city-run ambulances. Talk about the decision to remove ambulance service from the city. Is there currently any discussion of moving a portion of ambulance services back to the fire department? This is a hot topic. There was pun intended. But this has been a hot topic and a hot question for, I guess, many administrations, I feel like.
Well, really just for the last couple of years. It came up during the mayoral election because years prior, the previous administration did remove the ambulance service from the fire department as they reduced the numbers of active firefighters, because it actually takes just to have one ambulance in service with the fire department, it takes 6 to 7 additional firefighters.
Around there.
Because it would be 2 to man the bus or the truck on each battalion, and so there's 3 battalions. That would be the 6th, and then if there was somebody hurt, off,
rotation,
whatever. That's why they said they would need 7 to 8. Now, fortunately, Chief Frazier has made it an initiative and made it basically policy that all his firefighters are EMT certified. So any one of our firefighters could be on an ambulance to provide BLS or basic life support service only. Now, what the hospitals provide and what the fire department, I believe, did at one time too was ALS services, which I forget what the A stands for. Acute life. So basically, it's the step of it. It's the more involved, and so I don't know truly what the reason was behind the previous administration's decision to remove the ambulance service, just outside of the fact that they felt that the fire department was overpopulated for the amount of
which you're saying costs too much money.
Cost too much money, yeah.
Yeah.
Bodies cost money,
yeah.
And so that was part of the cost saving measures as well. And the hospitals both stepped to the plate and continue to add ambulance trucks themselves, and so that's why they were the primary providers. Now, I mean, I know that there's still no medic available at times, and so we rely on Greentown, Rushville, Galveston to help us out, and we'll continue to do that. But in the cases where there's no medic available, they cite various examples. That could happen anyhow. Even if we had 3 ambulance trucks available, there could be a time when a hospital, both hospitals are making a transport to Indianapolis, and you get 4 or 5 calls, at the same time. You're always going to have situations, unfortunately, where there's no medics available at the time and have to rely on other services. But not to say that that's an excuse not to look at it. We've been looking at it as we continue to add firefighters. There is the possibility of bringing an ambulance into service because right now Chief Frazier and the department feel that they still need probably about 8 to 10, maybe even 12 or so more firefighters just to,
as a whole,
as they feel, adequately staff the trucks on the normal runs, to then have the need for 2 additional on each battalion to staff just one ambulance. We've got to work on getting the numbers up, or have the guys sign up for kind of not forced overtime but mandatory overtime in order to do that. So
how many ambulances do the current local hospitals have?
The hospitals each have they have 3 in service, so they have 2 in service 24/7, and
2 each or 2?
2 each.
Okay.
But then they each have a third one, as I understand it. So there's 6 total. So they have a third one during the heightened hours, which I believe is 8 to 8 or 10 to 8 or something. And so there's what they feel is the higher traffic hours of the day, that they then add a third ambulance in service, so that there's 6 available at any times. Now, what they run into at times is that if somebody needs transported to Indianapolis, that takes one of the trucks out of commission for that time when they get down and back, which is where therein lies the struggle. When
it's a very rare moment, isn't it, where all of those are being used at the same time and there's a shortage? Not
necessarily rare. It's not commonplace, but it happens more than folks want it to happen, and sometimes too. And you hate to downplay or discount an individual's concern with their health or how they may feel, but there have been a number of calls for a bump or a bruise or a sprain or something that might not have needed an actual ambulance call
from a hospital.
Now our fire on every BLS call, we dispatch a fire truck in the event that there's not an ambulance available, so that the firefighters, again, EMT certified, can get there and begin to administer first aid and the basic life support to get the individual secured, and sometimes, a lot of times, even to the point that they can then call off the ambulance because they've taken care of the situation there. So that's one of the beauties. But if we are able to get one ambulance back in service, that could assist. They could be, instead of sending out one of our $700,000 fire trucks, running that thing out to, so if we can send an ambulance with a couple firefighters there.
Well, there's the aspect of it too. Those certain moments you're talking about where it is, a scrape, a bruise, or something like that, where it's not severe enough where that person's going to the hospital. It's true that if it's a hospital ran ambulance and that they don't bring them back to the hospital, there's no money involved. The hospital doesn't really make any money on that. So I mean, if there was a city ran ambulance, would the city have priority for those moments? Because the city obviously wouldn't charge.
And that's what I mean. And that's the conversation we would have with the hospitals to say, okay,
how do you determine priority?
If it's a BLS, if it's ALS hospitals, that's all you, because you guys need to, you need to be that, so BLS, we could be the first one to consider for that. Also on fire runs. So when there's an actual fire, the hospitals dispatch an ambulance to the scene in case someone is affected by the fire, or even a firefighter gets injured. And what a lot of folks don't realize is that hospital sends that ambulance, and even if it seems like the site is secure, that ambulance has to stay there until they're done.
Yeah.
And so that takes an ambulance out of service. So again, if we're able to have City of Kokomo ambulance there, if those guys are just like the hospital staff are sitting in the truck, if those guys are there, the scene is secured, there's 2 additional firefighters who can get out and man a hose and help the scene that way too. And so that is a benefit as well. And so we're talking about it, working through it, because of the staffing levels of the fire department now. It's not as easy as flipping a switch and throwing a couple on and going. There's a lot of logistics, but we're working towards it.
So that's the goal. Absolutely, yes, we would love for that to happen, but we feel the fire department is still short staffed for just general staff. But when we get fully staffed with Captain Fraser is Chief Fraser is comfortable with it, that's when they would hire and maybe start an ambulance. Is that what I'm hearing?
That's what you're hearing.
Got it. Okay.
Yep.
Awesome. So that is the Ask the Mayor segment, partnered with Lexi's Drink Barn. As always, if you have questions for the mayor, just make sure to leave them in a comment below. We love answering these questions, and we love educating what's going on in Kokomo, what's going on in City Hall, and like we've talked about a little bit today, what is City Hall's job? What is this guy's job? What is he responsible for? What is he not responsible for? So we can educate just on that, because it's not just about telling people, no, you don't know what's going on. It's more about, it's not his job. Here's whose job it is. Here's who you contact.
But when in doubt, please
just get with
call.
This guy.
We'll get the answer, but then it helps me better understand the situation as well. I mean, we talked about
for sure
the 2 pet stores and such. I mean, I dealt with that a little bit, but I'm gonna dig a little deeper. Love that. Deeper. Yeah, so thanks for those questions as always. Next, moving up, I don't even remember. We didn't film last week. Oh, it was Hook. That's right. It's been so long. Great movie. Jack. Gosh. And it's one of the things I love about this movie as an adult now. One, seeing it from the parents' angle is very interesting. If I were Peter Pan and I would but the whole busy with work. You would be a good Peter Pan.
I would?
I think you would.
What qualifies a good Peter Pan?
I don't know. Personable.
You hear that? He said
good-natured.
I'm personable.
Fun.
I don't know. We've argued I'm not a fun person. But anyway, it's a great movie.
You're a total fun person.
All right. Maybe.
Okay. You just don't like dropping kids off at school.
Well, I actually don't mind dropping them off. I just wish everybody would know how to do it properly.
Anyway.
No, Hook, but it holds up, even for a parent, which that's kind of the beauty of that movie probably when it came out. That's my love. My parents probably loved watching it too. So if you haven't seen Hook, 1, what the heck is your problem? 2, it's a story of Peter Pan. It's a story of Peter Pan. He's grown up. He has become an adult, Pita, and he's forgot all about Neverland and all the adventures and the things that he did as a kid. Yep. But he gets thrown back into that world.
Captain Hook comes and takes his kids.
That's right. Takes his kids with the hook on the lock. That's such an iconic scene. But anyway, so he gets thrown back in. He finds them. He ends back in Neverland in the food fight scene, and which causes it all.
Tink and the Lost Boys try to
who's Tinkerbell? Who plays Tinkerbell?
Julia Roberts.
Julia Roberts plays Tinkerbell. Yeah.
And she's pretty tall.
She is.
Has to be cast, but obviously with this.
Yeah. No, she was just a fantastic movie. It holds up. My kids loved it. I still love it as an adult, which some of the best best kids movies are also movies that the adults enjoy too. And, it really took me back. And such a classic story of Peter Pan. And you see Peter Pan's son actually switches sides for a minute and joins the Captain Hook side. So he has to fight for his son back. Oh, yeah. The classic, what is the scene? We were talking about this, I think, for First Friday. We talked about, I wish we had that scene where you stomp on the step and the rug falls down automatically, falls down the steps. But no, fantastic movie. It holds up. It's on Netflix. Go see it. Great movie. Loved Hook. Yeah. So what am I watching next?
October, I figured we do Halloween theme. I'm going back to the 90s. Little Johnny Depp and Winona Ryder.
Edward Scissorhands.
Edward Scissorhands.
I'm into that.
Edward
That's
Scissorhands.
a cult classic, right?
It is, yeah. I hadn't seen it in a while, and I was thinking, man.
I don't think I've seen the whole thing. I think I've seen
it's
parts
been forever
of that movie.
since I've seen it, so I'm definitely gonna
that's exciting.
watch it again.
I've been watching a lot of scary movies. I'm not gonna lie, I'm really into them. Well, one, there's this really popular Netflix show right now called The Squid Game. And
a couple of my kids have seen that, and I haven't watched it yet.
It's something. It's not a scary movie at all. Don't hear that. But a fantastic show. And then
is it? Okay.
There's another show called Midnight Mass on Netflix.
My daughter's watching that too. Is it? Oh,
it was really good. I
binged
the heck out of both of those shows. And Midnight Mass is created by the same people that made Haunting of Hill House, which is still probably, that might be top.
That's one of
and it's the same guy who made Haunting of Hill House and Haunting of Bly Manor. Okay. And I finished Midnight Mass and I realized I never watched Bly Manor. So I'm in the middle of Haunting of Bly Manor right now. I'm watching it and I'm just so in the mood.
It's the season
of spooky season. I'm so in the mood right now. It's exciting. So we'll watch Edward Scissorhands, which isn't really a scary movie, but it's a Halloween
start watching
fun.
Midnight Mass.
You need to. It's man. It's so good. I've told Aaron to watch it 100 times.
My daughter's all into it, so
I need to talk to her about it because it's so good. And the thing I love about the Haunting of Hill House and Haunting of Bly Manor and the Midnight Mass. Yes, they're scary at times, but a lot of times you sacrifice good plot for scary.
Thank you.
And these don't. These are such good stories. The storytelling and the characters, you fall in love with them. Absolutely, there are scary moments, but you sacrifice it sometimes. And with these series, you don't. And that's what I love about it so much.
Yeah, some of these horror films, they think, we'll do blood and guts and gore and everything.
It's Saw's fault. Saw started that, and it was just the more blood, the better. And I'm like, it's not true.
No.
Though the first Saw was good, but you're right. Now that there's Saw 12 coming out soon. It's just how much blood and arms can we cut off and call it a scary movie. But anyway, go watch that. We're gonna watch Edward Scissorhands, and we'll report back next week. Do you have a dad joke for us?
I do. With Edward Scissorhands, you know how the moon cuts his own hair?
How so?
Eclipse it.
I mean, Hey, thank you for watching this episode of the Mayor Tyler Moore Show. We loved having the show today, and just thank you so much for those questions that you sent in.
Yes, thanks.
Just a quick reminder: always send those questions down in the comments below, and if it's a great question, it might end up on the show. Thank you for watching. We'll see you next week.
See y'all.